The final part of question 1 covered journals and ledgers and also returns of stock, and it did so by getting you to do a schedule of debtors. And that required you to go through the journals that were given to you and also to update the balances based on the journal entries you'd made, as well as the sales returns that you'd factored in. So to begin with, we start with the debtors from the beginning of the month. So Jay Bennett at the start of the month owed us $2,500. What we need to remember is that during the month we might have sold more to that person, and we can see in the sales journal there's two sales there of $35.20 and $1,100, so we'll add those in. However, did Jay Bennett pay us back? And if we go to the cash receipts journal, we can see they actually did $1,650, plus they were given a discount of $50, so that's a total of $1,700. So if we take all that into account, at the end of the month, Jay Bennett will owe us $5,420. So that'll be the first debtor. We then have D. Edger. So that was at the beginning of the month. D. Edger owed us $3,400. We can take a bit of a shortcut here. We don't need to go and recalculate balances and go for the sales journal and the cash receipts journal. And that's because in an earlier question, we actually did D. Edger's subsidiary ledger. So whatever figure you got, in this case I balanced to 3330, but whatever figure you got for that question, you were just going to carry that balance forward and get a carry forward mark. So in this case I've got D. Edger at 3,330. We then have from the beginning of the month T. Wilson, who owed us 4,300. We can take another shortcut here and remember that in question 1A we recorded a bad debt for T. Wilson because they weren't going to be able to pay us back. So we wrote their whole balance off for 6,710, and that now means that T. Wilson has a zero balance. So we never put zero balances in. We never want to write in here T. Wilson 0. And it's not just being pedantic, it is the correct thing to do by not putting it in, because if we listed every single debtor we ever had that just has a current balance of 0, a debtor schedule would go for pages and pages. So we definitely don't put zero balances in. And that's where we end based on the debtors that were there a month ago. What we want to remember is not to forget that there could be some new debtors. So if we go through the sales journal, there actually was a new debtor on the 23rd of Feb called F. Smith, who owes us $2,750. Just want to make sure that person didn't pay us back any of that money. So we go to the cash receipts journal. We can't find any receipts from this debtor, so we'll just put them in at $2,750. The last thing we need to do is total this up. So we write balance as per debtors control, or balance of debtors control, of 11,500. And what's interesting with this question is, well, first of all, the marks. So there's 4 numbers there, but obviously only 3 marks. So J. Bennett was 1, D. Edger and F. Smith was 1. Balance as per debtors control was 1, and that was your 3 marks. And what's interesting is that 29% of the state got 0, but at the other end, only 4% got 3 out of 3, which is quite surprising. And given that all you had to do was carry forward a couple of figures from earlier questions and then update information that was given to you from a debtor schedule a month ago, the fact that people got 3, only 4% of people got 3 out of 3 is quite surprising. So looking at the reasons why, the comments from the examiner were, a lot of people put D. Wilson in. Even though they were written off as a bad debt, they wrote them as a balance of 0, which we said is wrong. A lot of people forgot to look for new debtors, so they forgot to look for F. Smith. And most importantly, I think this is probably the mark that cost everybody that 3rd mark, which was they didn't write balance as per debtors control. We don't just write debtors control, we don't just write balance, we don't write balance of debtors. We need to have the words balance and debtors control in there all together. So if they're all in there, we're going to be just fine. So you can write balance as per debtors control or balance of debtors control, but the important thing is you write that in full.